In my as yet unfinished series, The God Distraction, I talk about knowledge, actual knowledge, and I define actual knowledge as having three elements. It's demonstrable, repeatable, and actionable. Indeed, it is the demonstrable, repeatable character of genuinely knowing something which leads to actionable knowledge. And here's how I defined actionable knowledge in my series. It is knowledge which is certain enough, we don't have any certain knowledge of anything, to allow the knower to make predictions regarding causal relationships to the extent where we can act on that knowledge with highly predictable results. A good example of the difference between actual knowledge and pseudo-knowledge can be seen in flat earth theory. Flat earth theory fails to give us any actionable knowledge, whereas the scientific heliocentric model of our solar system allows scientists to make predictions about the movements of the planets and stars. It's how we know far in advance when a lunar or solar eclipse will happen. To put it simply, actionable knowledge is knowledge you can take to the bank. You can act on it, knowing that things will occur, events will proceed, causal relationships will flow in such a predictable manner that you can do things which would otherwise put your life and the lives of others at risk. And you can do so confident in the knowledge that any such risk is negligible. This level of knowledge simply doesn't exist in religion, which is why in the 3,000 years that people have been claiming knowledge of the tribal war God of Abraham, no one has ever been able to act on the knowledge of said God with any reliable, demonstrable, predictable results. At least not in the era of fact-checking. Think about it. No believer today knows in any demonstrable, repeatable, actionable way anything more than the shepherds in the fields who came up with this nonsense 3,000 years ago. There has not been a single solitary advance in religious knowledge ever. And despite some pretty heavy hitters claiming to impart such wisdom. As a Mormon, I grew up believing that the Native Americans were Hebrews who came to the Americas in two separate migrations. Joseph Smith, translating his golden plates via the gift and power of God, claimed to know the history of those Native Americans and gave us all kinds of ways to test his claims empirically. He was dead wrong on virtually every account. Jesus, too, gave us ways to test claims of his divinity. Jesus told his followers that they'd be able to do all kinds of miraculous works in his name, greater works than he did, simply by believing in him and his power. And it would only require the tiniest bit of faith, that of a mustard seed. Jesus told his followers that if two or more believers came together and asked for anything in his name, he would give it to them, anything. Which is how Joe Biden became president, and how Christians ended world hunger and poverty, obviously. With religion, there is literally nothing believers can take to the bank. If the Bible were true, if Jesus was who he said he was, we would be swimming in endless evidence of God's power, just like the Egyptians. We'd have all kinds of actionable knowledge. Instead, all we get are apologists explaining why they can't drink poison, take a bite from a venomous snake, or move a mountain. Instead of action heroes, we get action zeros, and absolutely nothing believers can take to the bank for 3,000 years. Once again, I'm me. Thanks for watching.